What's up, guys? Steel Reserve Addict, back tonight. Gonna be doing an ASMR video. Soft spoken, you know. Not a big fan of whispering. Just whispering for like a long period of time, but if anyone watches these videos and wants me to do some whispering, let me know. But my intentions with this channel have been evolving since I started. I kind of wanted to do, individual reviews at first. As the weeks have progressed, I'm kind of realizing that maybe I don't even want to put together individual videos for impressions of albums that I'm listening to, but maybe I'd rather just make long, soft-spoken ASMR videos talking about albums, and these can function as the type of videos that I like to watch on YouTube a lot. I listen to a lot of ASMR content, so I didn't like when I did a couple of my reviews, weeks back, and I was just rambling. I wasn't too pleased with those videos I made, like especially the Mac Miller Balloonerism review. But I feel like doing long form ASMR video actually gives me the proper format through which to just ramble about albums the way I want to, and people who appreciate album discussions and ASMR might get into this. So yeah, this might be a longer video, might not be too long, but I like the freedom that doing this feels like it enables me to have. Like, since it's an ASMR spoken video, I feel like I can just sit here forever and talk, and it works. Whereas talking at standard volume, discussing albums, doesn't really suit my rambling. But anyway, just wanted to get into what I've been listening to over the last couple weeks. I have 4 albums in mind. This is not one of them. I actually did an impressions video of this album, but let's see which one I want to talk about first. I know what I'm doing right now is kind of the opposite of what a lot of people do. They go and they set the PC background as their the primary screen, and then they would put themselves up in the top right corner, or in any corner. But right now I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm just going to put Spotify up in the top right corner, and you can look at me. Got some flavored water here. So, I've almost forgotten. There's 4 projects that I'm going to be talking about today. One of them you can't see on the screen here. So, I'm going to be talking about Dream Theater, Parasomnia, Westside Gunn, 12, Life is Beautiful by Larry June and the Alchemist. Let's just start with the one that is not here. That is Joey Badass's new EP. Pardon me. So, I'm looking around the microphone. I could have just swapped the screens. That would have been much easier. But I'm looking at Spotify that way. I have 2 screens in front of me. I'm looking at Spotify and this one behind the microphone. But yeah, Joey Badass, pardon me. So, um, so Joey Badass, back in like 2012, when he first came out, I would have said he was one of my top favorite rappers from like 2012 through like 2017. Probably, I would have said that Joey was just one of my top favorite current rappers. And then he took a break. He was off for quite a while. He after All American Badass in 2017, I don't think his next album wasn't until 2022. And I felt when he returned with 2000, it felt like just a kind of a diluted version of Joey. It really felt like he lost a lot of the fire, just a lot of his hunger, I guess is what they say, in hip hop. It felt very like it was totally tolerable, acceptable music from Joey, but it felt like lyrically and flow-wise, technically and lyrically, it felt like he was just a fraction of what he had been back on those tapes, like not 1999 and Summer Nights and Before the Cash. I mean, he was just a monster on those albums with like the wordplay and the technical rhyming. Like, he was so dense, it was crazy on some of those albums. So I was disappointed in 2000, and Joey's coming back now with I think it was January 1st. He released the first track from the CP, which is "The Ruler's Back," which you can see is the last track on the CP. And "The Ruler's Back" was like, I didn't really get it when he dropped it. It was like, it was like he, it was the type of track where he just wanted to step outside and just say, hey, I'm still in the game. I'm one of the best rappers out, everyone's, Kendrick's been having his moment, and the conversation's been about all these other rappers over the last year or so. And, he was like, I just want to step in and, remind everyone I'm here. I thought it was fine for what it was. Pretty laid back conductor beat, drumless, I believe. And Joey, he was rapping on there. Like, he just had some pretty good bars, punchlines, flow was fine. It was totally serviceable, as like just like, hey, I'm back kind of song. But for some reason in the second verse of the song, I understand he had the bar about too much West Coast dick licking, and I know that's a nod to Jay-Z. I think that's from 22 Twos on Reasonable Doubt. And Joey's actually used that same bar before, or not even it's not even a bar. It's just a statement. But he's used that bar on a song with Capital Steez. I can't remember what it's called right now. But not, I understand he was just invoking that bar, and he's pointing, saying, all the shine has been on the West Coast. Where's the love for the East Coast? And the part about it that really kind of perplexed me was the way that he was talking about. I can't remember the exact lyrics he says right now, but he's talking about how he's, he was like hidden away. He's waiting to attack. He's just waiting for someone to give him a reason to respond. Like he's ready to go. Like, I just don't understand where that energy was coming from. Like, he's talking about his battle with, or not his battle. He's talking about like, the whole feud between Kendrick and Drake and other people who were on the periphery of that. Joey was not one of the people that was on the periphery of that whatsoever. Like, he's talking about it in the second verse as if, as if this is somehow related to him. It's actually not. And I don't mind Joey stepping out and having like a control moment, but this whole song just felt very like wishy-washy. It was like 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. Like, is this actually you doing control, or is this just like I'm dropping a single to remind everyone that I'm a great rapper? Like, it felt like the song had like an identity crisis. Where it's like Joey really wanted to be included in this conversation, but at the same time, there's nothing. I didn't even think that anything in this song would elicit a response from anyone, because, like I said, it's just so wishy-washy. He's got a couple edgy bars for the West Coast there, but that's about it. Like, I don't think Joey even really expected anyone to respond to this. Definitely not Kendrick. I know some people were like saying like, should Kendrick respond, or is Joey trying to get Kendrick to respond? I don't think Joey thought for a second that Kendrick was going to respond to this song. But Daylight responded, and Ray Vaughn responded, and then Curtis King responded, and other smaller, other individuals smaller in size than Daylight responded. Mick Jenkins eventually did a response. And then it was like, where does it go from here? So then Joey releases the second song on this EP, which was Sorry Not Sorry. And I was just scratching my head with this one too, because this was just kind of, it's an okay beat, okay flow, decent bars. It's just retreading the Rulers back again. It's just like part 2, you know what I mean? At this point, Daylight and Ray Vaughn had already responded, but Sorry Not Sorry really, it doesn't feel like it's clapping back at them in any way. It's just like another iteration of the Rulers back. It's just like I'm pretty sure Joey was going to release all these songs anyway, whether anyone responded or not, I don't know. But yeah, so Sorry Not Sorry, it's fine for what it is, but I'm just like I don't care about this wishy-washy like fake feud thing that Joey, like I feel like he should either go hard, or he just shouldn't be making songs like this. Like, it's just this the whole like tepid, like middling way that he's presenting these tracks just really didn't do anything for me. And then finally this culminated with Pardon Me. Pardon Me is by far the most energetic of these songs. This one's really celebratory. It actually is a really catchy hook, and again, just more just eye-rolling stuff. He's talking about how it's a 20v1, obviously referring back to the different flips of the 20v1 bar that Kendrick and Drake had slung at each other on different tracks. And Joey is now trying to position his current, his role in this. He's trying to flip as a 20v1, because Ray Vaughn and Daylight and some random other smaller rappers and Mick Jenkins are responding to him. Like, it just feels like such an undeserved, like he's saying it's a 20v1, like bro, like this isn't anything. Like, I just can't take this seriously. Like, this isn't a battle. This isn't even, like, again, the obvious point of reference that I already mentioned was Kendrick's Control verse from 2013. But this is like, what Joey has done on any of these tracks is like, it's like a tenth of the fire that Kendrick came through with on Control verse that made it such an iconic moment. You know what I mean? Like, Joey is not coming anywhere near that level of aggression or competitive spirit. He's not evoking. My phone just fell out of my pocket. That probably made a loud noise. I'm going to have to see if I can edit that out. But anyway. 15 minutes. But yeah, so yeah, this whole thing is just wishy-washy. I mean, I would say Joey, on these 3 songs, overall, his lyricism is a cut above what it was on his 2000 album. So, I am looking forward to if Joey releases a body of work sometime soon, which I imagine he will be. But honestly, this EP really just doesn't do much for me. It's just way too wishy-washy. Wants to be competitive, but it doesn't really. You know what I mean? I can't take Joey seriously in this capacity. So, would have been better if he just released 3 tracks without doing like this halfway control verse thing. Not even halfway, quarter way, eighth of the way to control. So, okay, so that's all with that. Let's get on to album number 2. Album number 2. Let's talk about Life is Beautiful by Larry June and by Larry June, 2 Chainz, and The Alchemist. So, this album is pretty cool. I probably have the least to say about this of all the albums that I'm going to talk about tonight. This album, it's so the star of the show here, I guess, is Alchemist. This is extremely lush, exotic, dreamy, just lavish production by The Alchemist. This is just so fire from top to bottom by Alchemist. He really killed it here. Provided an amazing backdrop for Larry June's and 2 Chainz to rap over. There's songs with flute samples and like Munyon Canyon. I think that one started. It's got like this ascending violin sample throughout it, and just it's kind of like the album alternates between like these super lavish, chilled out instrumentals, and then some that sound a little bit more like noir-ish, a little bit more dangerous, criminal, criminal activities come to mind, So it's kind of like this back and forth between lavish and dangerous. It's like it's like like a drug kingpin's trip to like across the country or across the world or something, to some exotic place. And there's moments of luxury and moments where they're getting into trouble and getting into some serious trafficking type operations. That's what this album sounds like. But yeah, it's pretty good. I like this album. I think it is good. I don't think it's great. 2 Chainz, in terms of the rapping, Larry June and 2 Chainz, they do the rapping here. Alchemist doesn't rap on any of these songs, which is worth saying just because he's been rapping on a lot of his projects over the last couple of years. But yeah, no Alchemist rapping on this. He sticks to the beats. But yeah, so the biggest detriment to this album is Larry June. Larry June is one of the dullest, most irrelevant rappers in my opinion. He just brings like nothing to the song. Like, he's competent. He's there. Like the best thing I could say about him is that he's a rapper that I'm not mad at. Like, there's some rappers who are so mid that I start to hate them, like Lil Baby or Ice Spice or Drake. A lot of the time, like, there's some rappers that just, they are like egregiously mid and not trying, to the point that I just can't stand them. Larry June is really not like that. I don't really have any problem with Larry June. He's totally listenable. He can catch a flow. He can get into a pocket. He's very simple with the lyrics. He doesn't have much flair. he kind of just talks very matter-of-factly and plainly about the relaxation and luxury that his lifestyle and career has allowed him to achieve. That's most of what he talks about, is just how chilled out and how much he's enjoying life. That's fine. I just don't think he brings much to any song I've ever heard him on. He's extremely boring to me. 2 Chainz, on the other hand, 2 Chainz on here, he's just a beast. Like, this dude is fire. Like, 2 Chainz has a sick rhyme scheme on like every song. So much personality, wit, charisma. Like, I don't know if these two, they're, it is strangely symbiotic how these two guys sound appropriate together, even though I think there's such a skill gap and there's just such a gap between what they each bring to the track, but they do sound like appropriate together. I'm not sure exactly why, but yeah, 2 Chainz honestly washes Larry June on every song. Like, he just kills it. So many funny bars. Like, this is extremely quotable. Like, 2 Chainz just says so many funny things on every song. He has hard bars, funny bars. Not too much that's like deep or introspective. I don't think any of these songs are gonna have anyone, feeling philosophical or really thinking about anything deep or important. But it's a good album. I enjoy it. I feel like the songs, like the last few songs, are a little bit more boring than like the first 2/3, but it's a good album. I did enjoy it. There's a couple songs that I would probably come back to or just throw into a playlist. I'm pretty much an album listener, but I've been making like for 2025, I'm just gonna have a playlist of like 1 to 3 songs from each album I listened to that were my favorites of the year. So there's a couple songs from here that'll end up in there. But yeah, this was cool. I definitely would recommend it if you're just looking for something super chill, laid back, and really lush production from The Alchemist. Some of the best stuff that you're going to hear by a producer today. Okay. Westside Gunn, 12. This is the next one. I don't know how people record long ASMR videos like without drinking water. I don't understand how people do that. As I'm sitting here talking, my throat, or not my throat, but my mouth just gets so dry. And like the first couple videos I ever recorded, I was like, by the end of the video, after I talked for like 10 or 15 minutes, I was like coughing because my throat gets so dry. So I really wondered, like, how the hell are people talking for an hour straight without taking a drink of water? I don't get that. Maybe all of the ASMR-centric, sounds and tapping and things like that I'm not doing here. Maybe that supplements, the pace of the speaking and allows people to recover in between their thoughts. But yeah, 12 by Westside Gunn. So I was looking forward to this, but kind of cautiously after Still Praying and 11 from last year. 11, I was really confused why 11 existed. We got Hitler Wears Hermes 8, side A and B, which was supposed to be the last one in the series, and then he came out with number 10, and he just said, well, side B, Hitler 8 side B was supposed to be, he just considered that 9, and then he made 10. It's like, okay, so 10's the last one. And that was in 2022, I think, that 10 came out. And then last year, he just randomly came out with 11. And 11 was like, it's like 15 minutes long. And I think like at least half the runtime is recordings of Sly Green, who I believe was Westside's cellmate when he was in prison. You know, and if you listen to Westside Gunn, you know that he dedicates a lot of songs and lyrics to talking about Sly Green and Free Sly Green. And you can see on the cover here, Free Sly for Big Dump. I believe Big Dump is, I'm not sure who that is, but I think that is someone who died, who Sly Green and Westside were affiliates with. And I don't know who's on the picture here. Maybe I don't know who that is, but I was gonna say maybe that's Big Dump, but I don't know. I really have no idea. But anyway, so yeah, I was confused by 11. 11 was like, I just didn't see a reason for it to exist. It was half of it was just, I think it was just Sly Green talking over his prison phone. And, and then the other half, like 6 or 7 minutes or whatever, was rapping. And I was just like, why does this exist? Like, I know some of the earlier Hitler tapes were very short as well, so there is a variability in the runtime of these projects, but I just didn't understand why he was bringing it back in the way that he did. It just didn't make any sense. So now that he made 12, this is like a return to form. This actually exceeded my expectations. I felt like he was kind of on autopilot with Still Praying, and he kept making comments about how, he only worked on it for a day. He was talking about how he was only in the studio for a day when he made Still Praying. And, I felt like he was kind of just losing his passion for making, these albums. And he was just going to be moving on to his wrestling endeavors that he organizes, with his fourth rope and all that. I gotta watch with this chair. If I move too much, it'll start making all kinds of noises. Don't want that. So yeah, this is a return to form. It's 43 minutes long. It's got the number one thing I want to see when I look at a Westside Gunn project, which is like at least 3 or 4 Stove God Cooks features. It's got Este Knack, he's back. So you'll notice, if you're familiar with Westside's catalog, this is kind of like a spiritual successor to Peace Fly God. I think that came out in 2021, and that was a tape similar to this that it featured Westside, Este Knack, and Stove God Cooks. This one has all 3 of those guys, plus Brother Tom SOS or Sauce. This guy is a newer affiliate of Griselda. I think the first time I heard him was when he had a feature on Still Praying, so just a few months ago. But yeah, this is produced, I think it's primarily Derringer, Denny LaFleur, and then there's a conductor beat on the final song. I think there might be one other producer who I was unfamiliar with their name of. Unfortunately, it doesn't say right here on Spotify. It doesn't say right here who the producers are. I think there's 1 or possibly 2 additional producers that contributed that I am not sure the names of right now. But this tape, it's super dusty. This sounds like sounds like some shit that was made, 30 years ago, and just, someone just uncovered it from the basement. Super dusty, scratchy, vintage sounding stuff, like just a perfect assortment of loops on here, like I it's like Boswell is the first song that has kind of like an Italian, mafia kind of string arrangement. Not arrangement, but like a loop. From what I don't know, but that's the most aggressive song, Boswell. Where they're all just, each of these guys, Estenac, Westside, and Stove God, they just have long. They just each have a long, hefty verse. And then you get into a couple more songs. You kind of start out with more straightforward, hookless songs. I think, I don't think Adam Page has a hook. Vert does have a hook, which is actually Westside. Just he has like a down pitched. He has a down pitched verse on that song. Or not verse, but a hook. And Stove God and Estenac, they do the thing on full verses. 55 is kind of like a gospel oriented cut. Stove and West, Health Science and Gumbo Yaya. These songs with Brother Tom SOS, these are super chilled out songs. Brother Tom, I really like this guy. He brings kind of like a regular guy sort of energy to this project. Like Stove God, Estenac, and Westside Gunn are just so exaggerated. They're like caricatures of rappers, you know what I mean? They're like these just boisterous, bombastic, over the top, insane rappers, talking about drug dealing and unfathomable, levels of luxury, So Brother Tom SOS is like really grounded. Instead, he just sounds like a regular guy rapping. Which is kind of amusing, but in the context of this project. But these songs, really kind of just level it out. And like Brother Tom brings these really great sung hooks. He does a sung hook on each of these songs, and goes over really well. I think it breaks up the monotony of some of these Westside Gunn projects where there's a lot of hookless songs, or just Westside does the hook. I think he should start incorporating more hooks from guys like Brother Tom, SOS, and like on Dump World, there's an absolutely amazing hook on this. I think it's partially like a gospel sample, and then I think Elijah Hooks is singing over that. I mean, it's just like a gospel choir, and then his soulful vocals over it. I mean, this song is actually just amazing. I just wish that the hook came back, the chorus came back a second time, because the chorus only plays after Stove God's verse and before Westside, and then after Westside's verse, it's just, the beat just ends, and then there's just an interlude at the end. But yeah, these songs here with Estenac, East Miami, Bear Me with the Stove, these ones are pretty good too. I like everything on this album. Outlander, this is my favorite song. This is the only one that West is on solo. This is probably my favorite song of the year so far. I played this so many times. It's just this sentimental, emotional beat. It's just so perfect. Like, it's just this I just love when Westside gets on records like this, like it's Westside comes through with this exaggerated lyrics, but it sounds like he sounds impassioned. He sounds like he really cares about his status and how, this song's basically just about how he got to where he is now. But it just, the loop on this song and the instrumental, this drumless backdrop is just incredible. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like this might just straight up be like my favorite song of the year. Like, shit like this is just amazing to me. But yeah, love Outlander. Played it so many times. I probably played it like 30 times. But yeah, it's just kind of a thesis on Westside Gunn, where he's at, why he's great, the reality of the, of the city he's from, what he's been through, jail, drug dealing, all that, and he just kills it on both verses. Amazing song. So yeah, I was really happy with this tape. I love how consistent overall Westside Gunn is. It feels like in the last couple of years, it feels like Conway and Benny have kind of been on a decline. But it's great to see that, like, Westside, he really doesn't change that much. I mean, there's not much difference between this album and, an album that he released in 2021 or an album that he released in 2016. You know what I mean? Like, he just stays great. Like, I feel like what Westside does is kind of evergreen. Like, he just has so much juice. Like, as long as he cares about making music like this, it's just gonna be great. So yeah, I'm really just looking forward to Westside just putting out more projects in the future. I thought he was gonna slow down, after I was afraid that Still Praying was gonna be like his, it felt like he was just it felt like he was powering down a little bit on Still Praying, like he was trying to tell us he was gonna take a break. But I hope that's not the case. And honestly, 12, I would say, is the best one he's put out, in the last couple of years, probably, because I think in 2023 he didn't do much except And Then You Pray For Me. Like, half of that album was amazing, and half of it was like Westside Gunn very badly rapping over trap instrumentals. So as long as he just sticks to the artful soul samples, Conductor, Derringer, Denny LaFleur, Camouflage Monk, as long as he sticks to that shit and, wants to do it, I think it's going to keep turning out great. And I just hope he just continues to put Stove God on, as many tracks as he can. Stove God Cooks might be my favorite feature artist of the 2020s. Okay. Last one for tonight. And you can see some of the other albums I'm listening to, which will be coming up probably in another video. I've been listening to this Tate McRae. This is Retromorphosis, basically a new incarnation of Spawn of Possession. I was listening to the new Killswitch Engage. I could talk about some older stuff. I was listening to some Mayhem, Bathory. Got Kendrick's Halftime Show there. But yeah, Parasomnia by Dream Theater. This album, this really surprised me. There was a time in my life where, when I was younger, when I was a teen, I probably would have said that Dream Theater was one of my favorite bands. Over time, I kind of lost interest in Dream Theater over the years. The last album that I really, listened to a lot was A Dramatic Turn of Events from 2011. And that was when Mike Mangini joined the band. And then they subsequently made, they did a self-titled. I never listened to that. There was The Astonishing, which is viewed as their worst album, by consensus just of fans overall. And that is like a 2.5-hour epic, I think. Which is just a ridiculous idea that Dream Theater has an album that's 2.5 hours long. I mean, it makes sense, but that is really unnecessary. there was Distance Over Time. Now, I did listen to Distance Over Time when it came out, but I don't remember anything about it. I probably listened to it like 5 to 10 times when it came out, but it really didn't stick with me, and it's not something I went back to. That was in 2019. And then there was another one in 2021. I think it was called A View from the Top of the World. I did not listen to that. And this album marks the return of the original drummer, Mike Portnoy, who left sometime before 2011, when Mike Mangini entered the band. So I think there's been a lot of attention on this album just because it's the return of Mike Portnoy. You know, this is probably the most attention a Dream Theater album has had, since the new drum, since the Mike Mangini joined the band, in 2011. So yeah, this. So here's the thing with Dream Theater. Even back when I was younger, I hadn't listened to every Dream Theater album enough to know all their songs and all their albums. So I'm really unfamiliar for the most part with albums like Finding what is it? What is it called? Is it called Finding Infinity? I think it's called Finding Infinity. I was gonna say Calculating Infinity. I think that's a Dillinger Escape Plan album. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. But yeah, so I've realized when I was coming back to this new Dream Theater, I'm realizing I've barely listened to Dream Theater in the last 10 to 13 years. I haven't listened to Dream Theater much at all in that time. So the only albums that I really know, I don't even know any of their albums that well, except for Images and Words, to be honest. At one point, I knew a lot more of their music, but I said, I just barely have listened to them at all. Anytime Dream Theater ever comes up, it's almost always Images and Words for me. A little bit, from Metropolis, Octavarium, the song. I remember a lot from Dramatic Turn of Events. I know I've listened to, when I was younger, I know I used to listen to Train of Thought and Systematic Chaos a little bit, but even those are really just kind of lost in my mind. So I don't have a great frame of reference going into this of what Dream Theater has been like for the last couple of years. But I was really pleasantly surprised by this. I was not expecting much, but this is a Dream Theater album that I love this. I think this is a great album. The first couple times I listened to it, it took me a little bit to digest the music, but once I started to become familiar with the album and recognize the songs and the riffs and the progression of these songs, I started to feel like these were some of the best Dream Theater songs that I've heard, period. These albums, I feel like the songwriting is really there, which I think fans have felt over the last decade or so, the band has kind of, gotten away from the songwriting aspect of the band. At least I think that's a criticism I commonly see, is that it feels like Dream Theater is more about indulging in their technical, virtuosic, instrumental abilities than, presenting compelling songs. But this album, it's just really good. I don't want to do a track by track breakdown. I feel like that's the thing that my mind automatically starts trying to get me to do every time I look at an album. But yeah, this album it's called Parasomnia, so it's about sleep related ailments, sleeplessness and other sleep conditions, ailments, afflictions. And there's different stories being told here about night terrors. There's a song called Night Terror, so that's night terrors are a thing. And what do you call it? sleep paralysis, and there's a song about a character who kills his family in his sleep. A broken man. I haven't read the lyrics of this song. This is the only one that stood out to me that I was a little bit confused by the thematic, the lyrical themes of this. Just kind of seems like a song about like a soldier and like a war fighter, and like I gotta be honest, I didn't read the lyrics to the song, but it's like a song about a soldier. I'm not sure if it ties into the sleep narrative. That one just stood out to me a little bit. Like, it just felt a little weird having a song about like a combat veteran, in the midst of these other songs. But again, there might be some clear, relation to like sleeplessness or PTSD or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, these songs, this whole thing is just it's great. I feel like, the album is how long is it? It's an hour and 11 minutes long, and that's par for the course. Like, I think the shortest Dream Theater album is like 55 minutes long. So an hour and 11 minutes, that's like the average length of a Dream Theater album. But I feel like this album, I don't know, do most Dream Theater albums have more songs? I feel like this is just really, in a way, this feels trim. Like, I don't know, this feels tightly constructed to me. That this hour and 11 minutes it doesn't feel that long to me. The Shadow Man incident is 20 minutes long, so the rest of the album does go by pretty quick if you take that out. But yeah, I like the dark tone here. Like, a lot of Dream Theater's music comes off as kind of like goofy or hokey or just a little less serious, while at the same time being serious can kind of make them seem corny in and of itself. So it's kind of a delicate balance that Dream Theater needs to work with, where they don't come across too serious, but they also don't come off like too much of a joke. And I feel like this album does that really well. There's a lot of just dark, groovy, satisfying riffs in this, chunky, heavy riffs. Really just appreciated the riffs on every song that kind of compose like the primary verses. I feel like James LaBrie, he that's the vocalist. I feel like he really I feel like he has a competent, compelling vocal performance on this album. He doesn't really, it doesn't really devolve at too many points into him sounding like a joke on the microphone. That's one of the things that you have to be kind of scared of sometimes, especially when he tries to sound like tough or menacing or has like a snarl. He can really start to sound goofy really quick. But I think all in all, he has a very measured, appropriate performance on this album. I liked his singing quite a bit. I didn't really have any issue with it. The lyrics are kind of what, I like the subject matter, but the lyrics are hit and miss. It's a Dream Theater album. I don't take the lyrics too seriously, so the bar for my expectations of lyrics on Dream Theater album is pretty low. So, no harm there. Like, these songs are not really getting into like, they're just scratching the surface of some of these ideas about sleep related ailments, and they're kind of just touching upon some very straightforward narratives involving sleep issues. They're not really breaking into anything deeper or further about the human psyche or condition with most of this. You know what I mean? It's very surface level. What you see is what you get, kind of thing. But yeah, definitely appreciated the darker tone. I know fans have compared this to Train of Thought, which I do remember. It's been so long since I listened to it, but I did remember Train of Thought having a similar kind of aesthetic to this album. But yeah, I the intro to the album, it's this long just instrumental build up. I think it's very effective just as an opener to Night Terror. My favorite songs for Night Terror, Dead Asleep, Midnight Messiah. That's a banger. Midnight Messiah, that's just got a great hook. Just like a chorus that just catches you off guard, and it's just like just one of those choruses that just makes you, bob your head, even if you're not like a head banging type of person. Midnight Messiah, when that chorus kicks in, it's really infectious. Bend the Clock, that's a really nice ballad. Definitely brings me back to like Images and Words, 90s output kind of Dream Theater on that song. Feels very, very classic Dream Theater in terms of how they would write a ballad. Like back in the day, I could see a song like Bend the Clock being on one of their early albums. And the Shadow Man incident is, it took me a while to get into the song, but I really do like it. I do feel like it is pretty compelling, and I feel like that the 20-minute runtime, like the song is unnecessary, but I feel like it does. I feel like it is constructed in a way that does warrant the runtime. It doesn't just feel like a bunch of random shit thrown together. There's many, what do you call it? Or like refrains, and there's a lot of kind of logical progressions. I don't understand music theory, so I can't really speak on this with any finesse or professionalism, really, in terms of like knowing what I'm talking about with music. But like, the movements of this song feel like they logically flow. It doesn't feel like just random pieces and bits of musical ideas just pasted together. So overall, I feel like the song does come together. It's not like, I don't think this isn't like this is definitely not one of my favorite songs of their longer compositions, but I do think it is a very worthy capstone to the album. A worthy it's the flagship song, I guess. But yeah, I was a big fan of this album. I liked it more than I thought I would, and I didn't even mention Mike Portnoy, but he has a fantastic drum performance on here. Everyone on this album has a virtuosic performance. But yeah, Portnoy sounds great. The production, the mixing and everything, it's so spacious. Everything sounds so distinctly separated, like all the instruments, yet they sound appropriately. The interplay between everything is it's spacious, but it's not like they feel like they're a world apart or anything. I don't know. I was really impressed by the mixing on this album. I feel like I feel like whoever put this together really knew what they were doing in terms of like mixing all these instrumentals together, or all these instruments together. So yeah, it sounds amazing. That was probably one of my favorite things about this album. It just sounds great. Like, it's hard to not be a fan of this album because it just sounds so good. The one complaint, the bass. I feel like on any Dream Theater album, I almost never can hear or notice anything about the bass, and it's kind of the same here. I'm sure that it's accenting the music in some way. Like, I don't know what it would sound like without the bass, but I pretty much don't have any moment that I can think of on this album where I noticed whatsoever the inclusion of the bass, and maybe that's just me. Maybe other listeners are noticing the effect of the bass in the mix. I'm just not really hearing it. So if there was one downside to this album, it would be that. But it's something that I feel like I've felt across every Dream Theater album that I've ever heard. I feel like I've never noticed anything in terms of bass on a Dream Theater album. But yeah, everyone has a super virtuosic performance here. But it's restrained, constrained. It's it feels like they really put their efforts into making these good songs first and foremost, and the virtuosic, master level performances on display are just supplementing good songwriting, and that's the way that it should be with Dream Theater. So yeah, I thought this album was great. Really enjoyed it. If anyone's watching, following along all the way with me here, word. Thanks for watching. I think I'm just gonna stick to this format going forward. I think I'm just gonna listen to handfuls of albums and just do long form thoughts about them, and you know, just get a sense of relaxation myself while I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Like, this is very relaxing for me to just talk like this. I don't know if it came through the microphone, but I did hear my neighbors who live downstairs. It's actually the woman and her kids who own this house that I live in. I heard that they were, the kids were playing downstairs. So, we'll see if that came through in the recording. I hope it didn't, but it probably did. You probably heard some kids throwing a ball around, or yelling a little bit there. But that's all good. I just hope it didn't didn't dampen the relaxation. But yeah, let me know what's up. Thanks for watching, and yeah, have a good evening, everyone.